Right, but have you heard this one though? Death, death to the IDF. 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 Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be free.
Okay, so I'll say this for this. The guy's name is Bob Violin, apparently.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be Bob Villain.
Yeah.
But to rhyme with Dylan, but I think he actually pronounces it Violin. Anyway, that's you got to give it to him. It is kind of catchy.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate the message.
Yeah.
But it's kind of catchy.
Yeah.
No, seriously, of all the songs, because he's a really bad musician, it turns out that was his best song. that he can take that. That's going to be his 15 minutes of fame.
And that's not even a song. It's a hateful chant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now it turns out the American government, is saying, we don't know if we want to give you a visa to come to our country. We just don't feel like it. Is that okay? Like you're chanting this hateful speech. You're a bad guy.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do with themselves. That's just outrageous. I should be allowed to come into America, even though I chant these horrible things.
Right.
Very strange ducks out there, right?
Oh, it's getting violent. It's getting more. 10 years ago, you wouldn't be able to say death to any army, any national army.
Yeah, well, take a listen to how this was played in the Piers Morgan show.
Okay.
Now, this is with Lorenz Taylor.
Oh, Taylor Lorenz. Oh, she's horrible.
Taylor Lorenz, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the same woman
Yeah.
that admitted she had a crush on Luigi Mangione and somehow made apologetics for him. I mean, maybe that's the thing that she's all into. Let's see what she has to say. Just check it out.
Public and these artists to have more positive sentiment towards the Israeli military forces.
I don't think anyone wants positive sentiment. I don't know why you twisted it around. We're saying we don't want anyone to call for the death of anyone. I mean, if you are advocating against genocide and you don't want people to be killed, how can you turn around and say at the same breath that you think chanting for death should be contextualized somehow?
Well, yeah, because again, if an army is committing genocide and slaughtering babies and creating the highest rate of child amputees in the world, and if that is what they have done for months and years now, and then the public is rightfully outraged about that genocide.
Calling for their death, that's the issue. It's not,
calling for the death of a military entity that is currently committing genocide.
Taylor, you can't keep saying that.
It's a compulsory army.
You don't even believe that when you're saying it.
Yeah.
If they said death to the British Army, no one's taking that as meaning the institution. They're taking it as meaning British soldiers.
When people say death to America, they mean death to American imperialism that is subjugated them.
No, they don't. They mean death to Americans.
That's a very generous.
As the supreme leader of Iran, what they mean.
I don't think you even believe this as you're saying it, Taylor, do you?
Again, they didn't say death to Israelis. They said death to the IDF. Again,
who are Israelis?
Genocide.
It's a compulsory service. We have to join the army in Israel.
Okay, so this is so interesting. Listen to her try to squirm out of this box that she put herself into. And Piers Morgan is right. He doesn't even think that she believes what she's saying.
No.
Okay. But he was on the right track, Piers Morgan, but I would go a little bit further. It's so much easier just to say, well, wait a minute. Would it be okay to say death to Planned Parenthood? Right?
Yeah.
Would it be okay to say death to, I don't know, BLM?
Yeah.
You name it. Death to the ACLU.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Presumably, she wouldn't say, well, because she's saying that the IDF is an organization, which is true.
Right.
It's a military organization, yes. But Planned Parenthood, I think that's a murderous enterprise.
Yeah.
They talk about genocide. I mean, that's a real genocide going on, Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, it's like $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Just straight. Yeah.
I'm surprised it's that low.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the point is it doesn't matter. It's our interpretation of it. It's her interpretation that Israel is committing genocide.
Right.
Okay, but which it's not, of course, but it's insane. But here she is making this argument, and Piers Morgan, this was an easy one.
Yeah.
Just would it be okay to say it and for your liberal sacred cows?
Right.
Of course it wouldn't be.
No.
So that's a story, Morning Glory, about this issue.
Yeah.
But just idiots out there everywhere. Look, we've got a lot to talk about. Big, beautiful bill, for example, which I think I should probably talk about right now. Big Beautiful Bill looks like it's going to be on track. There's a lot of give and take back and forth between the Senate and the House. What's fascinating to me, Devin, is why there are no Democrats supporting the bill at all, even John Fetterman, right?
Yeah.
What is it? What kind of hold do they have on their party constituents, right? I mean, they're very proud of being very unified.
Right.
They say that all the time. But look what all this unification has gotten them. They've gotten crazy results in the presidential election, at least.
Yeah.
They're represented in the Senate more or less equally. They're not a majority there. Likewise in the House. But is this the kind of unity that you think is helping you? Because I don't think it is.
Yeah.
It says poorly about you that you can't join. At least a couple of you can't join. So something else is going on there.
Right.
I don't know. What's your take on that? Because my take is that they really muscle their own with whatever they need to.
Right.
To threaten them with a primary, that's the easy way, I suppose. Another one is funding, taking away their funding from the Democratic caucus. But that would always be true in the past. I think something has changed in the past decade, 15 years, let's say.
It really has.
Yeah, it's almost as if, and I'm not saying that this is it.
Yeah.
Okay. But what would explain it is if some of the, I know that there's the party faithful like AOC. I expect her to be against the Big Beautiful Bill because she's an idiot.
Right.
But for those reasonable Democrats, and I'm sure they exist, especially in conservative states. Yeah. Why wouldn't they vote for something that, like, against this high taxes and such?
Right.
And it's not just the Big Beautiful Bill, but it's also all the transgender issues that we talked about before. So one of the things that would explain it is that not just the funding, not just the primarying, but also that they might have some dirt on these people.
Yeah.
What a shame it would be if we released these naked photos of you, with a woman not your wife.
Right.
What a shame.
Yeah.
That would explain. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it certainly would explain it.
100%. And one thing that's interesting, people think that China is, there's a little story, but people think China is really cultural. It's not. A lot of different languages, a lot of different cultures, and one of the things that they do to control the people is the governor or the person in charge of that little precinct is not going to be from that area, not even anywhere close from that area, because he's going to serve his master in Beijing. He's not going to serve the people. And that's what the Democrats seem to do. They serve Pelosi. They serve their master. They serve Soros or Gates. They don't serve, because if everyone's talking about what they want, they're going to be frantically trying to protect the people who elected them. And it's very clear, whether it's Compromat, whether it's some kind of pictures, whether it's Epstein, that they do not serve the people or the voters.
I don't know what he just said, but he's never been more sexy to me. No, I think you got a good point there.
Yeah.
It's a really smart point. Okay, so I think the Big Beautiful Bill will pass one way or the other. We're certainly going to have the extension of the tax cuts from 2017. I'm very confident about that.
Right.
And Trump is playing this very well because he knows that 2026 is going to be an unknown. He doesn't know if he's going to have control of the Senate and the Congress, and all the more difficult it is to encourage Democrats to go his way.
Yeah.
So do everything now while you still do have control of the Senate and the Congress and the House. So let's see what happens. But man, oh man, he's been effectuating so many great things in the past 5 months. He's done more in the past 5 months than Biden. I mean, well, Biden's not even an example. I think any other president that I can think of, he's done more in the past 5 months than any other president in history.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Economically, internationally, with respect to military and war, there have been so many, and he does not get credit for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's speak a little bit internationally. There's the issue of NATO. We didn't talk about this last week. I wanted to get to it, didn't have time. But the NATO head basically was thanking Trump for taking the lead and forcing them all to pay 5% of their GDP and to equalize it with America. Wow. It seems only fair, right? And then he even called him "Thank you, Daddy," something like that. It was really funny.
He called him Daddy?
Yeah, he used the word "Daddy." It was very funny. But I guess he's conservative, at least at heart, and is thankful that a strong leader is taking charge of NATO, because money is very important in any enterprise.
Yes.
But especially when it comes to the military, you have to be funded. And these people were just riding the coattails of America.
Right.
Not cool, man. Not cool.
Not at all.
So
they're going to be socialists and judge us.
Yeah.
While we foot the bill.
Yeah.
That's not really fair.
You know who disagrees with us in terms of the world attitude toward America?
I can't believe anyone would disagree.
Well, I know you don't think so, but it's true.
Yeah.
What's his name? Elie Mystal?
Oh,
yeah, Mystal. He's normally a kind of a very constant presence on MSNBC.
Yeah.
But he feels that America is the bad guy.
What?
And that we should be sanctioned. Take a listen.
Jesus.
And I don't say this lightly, but our country needs to be sanctioned. We are the bad guys on the world stage. We are a menace to not only free people everywhere, but we are a menace to peaceful people everywhere at this point. And I'm not even going to say that we've only been a menace for the past 3 or 4 months, right? Like, when does the international community decide that enough is enough? I know we're rich.
Okay, so that is a statement of a madman, right? And he really believes what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's what's so sad to me. Here's a question I have for anybody, and this is really kind of it goes with our theme a little bit, which is, why would you not love America? Why not lean into what America is?
Yeah.
Right? We talked about this more than a few times. It's natural for a child to love his own own town's sport team.
Yeah.
You know, if you're from LA, you love the Lakers. If you're from Detroit, you love the Tigers, and so on. That's kind of like natural.
Right.
Now, it may be that you may have moved from Detroit, let's say, and Tigers are still your team. I get that, but I'm saying if you were born there and raised there, well, it's natural.
Right.
Why not the same thing for your own freaking country?
100%.
I expect somebody who was born, let's say, in the Czech Republic, to be proud of the Czech Republic.
Right.
And they speak the language of Czech. They learn the history of Czech. There's a reason why you learn the history of your own country.
Right.
And America, we've got that in spades in terms of pride. So we love America because of all that it's given, all the liberty that's bestowed upon other countries. And that's something that you don't see. It makes no sense. But they also talk out of both sides of their mouths. And I cut Elie Mystal a little bit when he was talking about how rich we are and everything else.
Right.
But it's funny that there's a contrast between what the haters say of America, while at the same time they praise it.
Right.
So you got to pick a lane, dude. I mean, you can't say we're the greatest country in the world and then say we're the crappiest country in the world.
Right.
It does not compute. Do you ever ask the question, why is it that we are the greatest country in the world? Why do we provide so much to the rest of the world? How can we provide so much to the rest of the world?
Yeah.
All the goodies that we bestowed to the rest of the world. Why does everyone want to come to America, for that matter?
Yeah.
Then they say, and they acknowledge it. So we have the strongest military in the world. Okay, great. You know, why is that? You know, could it be that there's something in our system that allows that to happen?
Yeah.
That we're the freest country in the world, right? The people say that all the time, and other countries and the immigrants should flood into our country to enjoy the great freedoms that we enjoy. And yet at the same time, you say we're the crappiest country in the world, and we're the least free country in the world. Well, if that's the case, it seems like the music and the words don't really match.
Right.
Please explain to me why is it that all these people are coming into America, which is apparently the least free country in the world and the worst country and the most racist, and yet they're coming in here. Are they stupid?
Right. And they're encouraging them to come.
Yes.
If America's so bad, why do you want more immigrants here?
Yeah. You would think, no, please stay in your own country.
Yeah.
It's far better than wherever you came from. Which reminds me of this recent story that comes in about Haitian immigrants.
Yeah.
The court recently, not the Supreme Court, but a district court, notwithstanding the court's recent decision to say that these restrictions on immigration are not valid. You cannot do this.
Yeah.
Nationwide injunctions are not valid.
He did another nationwide injunction.
He did a nationwide injunction, and he said, "But this is different."
Yeah.
Okay. So how is it different? He says, "Well, because Haiti's really an awful place.
Oh.
I just can't get myself to agree to deport these people back to the country from where they came because it's so damn dangerous. So how can I do that in good conscience?"
Did he say that Haiti was an S-hole country?
Oh,
Because
well, effectively,
I remember
guess
that that was a bad thing before.
No, it's the greatest country. It's better than America, and yet we can't bring them. You can't deport them back to that terrible country, which is better than our country.
Yeah.
I guess it's very hard to rationalize to square what the liberals are saying. So let me get this straight though. If your theory is it's so dangerous to bring them back to Haiti because Haiti is an S-hole, like you said.
Right.
Okay, well, why not make that argument for every country?
Yeah.
There are a lot of bad guy countries. I mean, who makes a standard of what is a terrible place to return to?
Yeah.
I think South Africa is now a terrible place to return to if you're white.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's bad if you're black. But you can make the argument for every country. You can say, I don't know, France is a terrible place to go back to because, especially if you're Jewish.
Oh yeah.
It's very anti-Semitic over there. You can't really function in society. What constitutes an intolerable level of pain in a country for you to justify you not being sent back there?
No, and what category is it?
Yeah,
because
exactly right.
Their hatred of you because of the economy.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the interesting thing because there's a reason why we have a standard in America, and that's political asylum. People don't understand what political asylum is. There's asylum and political asylum, but asylum doesn't mean, hey, I just like your country better, and my previous country was really an S-hole country. Please. Okay. Yeah. If that were the standard, then virtually every country is worse than America, economically at least.
Yeah.
And a lot of countries are really bad countries.
Right.
Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, Iran, for that matter. I mean, they do terrible things to people. So I guess that would apply to Iran too. You can send them back to Iran. You can't send them back to Iran because it's an S-hole country. It's too easy to manipulate that argument.
Yeah.
Political asylum generally, you have 4 categories. I hope I can remember them all. One is that you can prove that you are being abused or tortured or whatever, not on the grounds of your race, your religion, your political affiliation, your group, or your nationality.
Okay.
That's 4 or maybe 5. 2 of them are kind of together, I think.
Right.
Anyway, that's what you have to establish, and it's your burden.
Right.
You don't just say asylum and say, hey, it really is, it's tough being in Honduras. I don't like it there.
Right.
It's really better here. So that's not the standard.
No.
If that were the standard, then everyone would have come into this country decades ago.
Right.
And asked for asylum. But somehow they think the law has changed, apparently, with that, and not ever thinking to themselves, well, why wouldn't everyone have come here if the only standard is that my country is an S-hole country, but I'm not unique in my country.
Yeah.
And so it's the standard is so strict that even if you were tortured in your country, not for being of a different nation, of a different religion, a different color, or belonging to a certain group with a certain opinion.
Right.
You were just tortured because people like to torture you, which happens in a lot of countries.
Oh my God.
You could be just a criminal, and they decide because you jaywalked, we're gonna torture you.
Right.
That's not a good enough reason to claim asylum in America.
No.
And they don't get that.
Not at all.
Yeah. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Now, this is the latest and greatest on. Well, I guess. Gosh, there's so much to talk about. I really don't know where to start.
The news cycle is so much.
Well, the transgender community.
Okay.
So that's a major thing. So you may not know it, but Penn, University of Pennsylvania, so UPenn, recently apologized and also stripped Leah Thomas, actually William Thomas, from all of his awards.
Yeah.
And basically, Riley Gaines wins.
Right.
Okay, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah.
For her
awesome.
sake.
Yeah.
And it's such a great victory for regular people.
For women,
and for women, generally speaking. I think
Yeah.
that's the way to go. It's so obvious. And so something is finally being done.
Right.
And there was pressure, I'm sure, from the Trump administration. But that's going to create momentum.
Yeah.
But some people are not so happy about that. I'm telling you that they're just nuts about that. Well, let's just ask some woman on the street, maybe a man. I don't know. Yes, you, sir, ma'am, whatever you might be. Can we talk to you? Yes. Tell us what you think the state of affairs in terms of the treatment of trans is in America today. Please, here's the mic.
That is what the trans genocide in this country, in this city, has brought me to. Imagine that! I hate this! I hate what you've done to us! I hate what you're doing to us! I hate you, Board of Supervisors! I hate you, London Breed! I hate you, Jenkins!
Hold D.A. Jenkins accountable! Hold him!
Hey, man!
Well, sometimes you ask somebody on the street and they really just take it all the way, I guess. But thank you, ma'am, for your time.
Yeah, thank
if you
you.
are, ma'am, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
She was so nice.
Yeah, she expressed herself.
I really like her. I think she's authentic, and that's what matters to me.
She seems fun. Yeah.
I'd like to have a beer with her.
Yeah. We'd get kicked out of the bar, but
what
a story.
an entitlement attitude this woman has. She thinks that she's the first person that didn't want to scream.
Yeah.
Or that the first person who does want to scream. And now she's exercising that right. And isn't that so original of her? Like if that's what you think a meeting is of a board of supervisors, that's what that was, folks. Then for shame. I mean, really, it's absurd. This is not a scream session.
Right.
Okay. Whenever you give a microphone to anybody, you want to ask what you feel. Tell us why you feel that way. It would help if you gave us some facts to support your cause. They just don't know how to do that.
No.
They just don't know how.
No.
There's more in the trans world. So it turns out also that there's this video of this guy, and I couldn't find it, unfortunately.
No.
He was from TPUSA, Turning Point USA.
Great organization.
I forget his name. His name is Bo, I think. Anyway, he goes up to these transgender folks in San Francisco.
Yeah.
The mecca of the gay world.
Yeah.
And he asks them, because they're dressed in very scantily clothing. Some of them are naked.
Yeah.
And he says, do you feel like this is appropriate in front of children that might be watching?
Yeah.
And they say, where are you from? And he said, TPUSA.
Yeah.
And then they start chasing him. Get him out, get him out. And they literally chase him, and they threaten to beat him up. He takes a video of the entire thing.
Wow.
And there's a lot of staggered video because it goes up in the sky down to the ground and everything else. One of those things. But it's really terrifying. And what's interesting to me about all that is the pornification of our culture.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's I guess you could also call it the leftizing, if you want, of our culture. But the pornification as well is specific to that. And what do I mean by that? The way that they chased him, the way that they yelled at him, the entitlement that they felt to talk to him, the way they did, how they felt justified in doing this, chasing him, screaming him, like they were chasing a Nazi.
Yeah.
Chasing a KKK guy with a hood.
Yeah.
Who said, I don't like N-words, and so on. Maybe at that point we would surround and say, get the F out, you monster. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But this is the way they treated him.
Yeah.
And all he was saying is, do you think this is appropriate?
Right.
Is there some line beyond which you should say, no, I guess we shouldn't do that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, if you were to ask a transgender person who is parading there, at least naked and such, And really, seriously.
Yeah.
And, if you do you think it would be appropriate for a person with a penis, let's say, to go alongside the parade route to a little child and kind of do circular motions with your penis in front of him and do a little dance? Do you think that would be a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
Right? Or a neutral thing? And I think that they would have chased him out just the same.
Right.
So this is kind of the madness that's going on. And there's a pornification of the culture.
And that's the best way of saying it. It's a pornification. Yeah.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to change what do they call the Overton window.
Yeah.
To the point where this is normal. Yeah. And everything outside of it is old-fashioned.
Right.
To being straight, liking a man only being attracted to women and only pursuing women is silly.
Yeah.
You are not incorporating all that you can incorporate. You're giving a disgusting look, and you're absolutely right to do that. No, you're right. And likewise with women and such. And then the transgender thing, that is all normal. They want you to think that way.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond that. It goes into normalizing, I don't know, what is it? I was going to say this. Not only that a man can become a woman, that the border is secure, just all the lies that are going on, that sex trafficking is apparently okay, drug trafficking is apparently okay, that the white supremacy is everywhere. This is what they want you to believe.
Right.
And that goes with global warming now that I think about it.
Yeah.
You must think of civilization with these things in mind.
Right.
And they, of course, with the transgender community, they're trying to change the language.
Yeah.
Cisgender, right? And then whatever the other words are.
Yeah.
But I've heard cisgender. So you and I are cisgender.
Right.
What you and I would call normally heterosexual, but that's old-fashioned.
Or normal.
And not, or normal, or straight.
Yeah.
But no, it has to be cisgender. And the reason why cisgender is because it's a word that fits in with all the other words that they have put them for themselves. Bigender, whatever, transgender.
Yeah.
So we're cisgender. We belong in that community of words.
Right.
Is what they're trying to put us in.
Yeah.
And I demur. I push back. I say, no, you guys are outside the box.
Yeah.
You're trying to make us outside the box. That we are the odd ones.
Yeah.
At the very least, you would, you could say, well, you could do what you want, but you're old-fashioned and what's the word I'm looking for?
Traditional or
traditional. No, but like a nerd, an old fogey.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And to say nothing of you're missing out on
Right.
what life really has to offer. So they know what the truth is, and you're outside of it. You can't see it.
Yeah.
They're the holders of all truth.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah, and it really is. And to go back to what you were saying about the Democrat Party and how everyone's so tightly wound and they have no dissent or understanding, that person on the street inappropriately dressed in a place where children could go is completely right in that area, and there's no dissent. You can't talk about it or else they'll chase you.
Right on.
Which is, I wish you had the video because that's a funny image of like two men in high heels chasing another man.
I know. It was so
that
weird.
is kind of impressive.
I tried to find it, I promise you, and you tried to find it, but we can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, take a listen, though, because your point, it dovetails really nicely into the next point, which is the Democrat Party is kind of leaning into this.
Right.
And they find their succor and their association to go very well with that somehow. I don't understand the calculus. You don't either.
No.
But neither does a longtime Democrat Stephen A. Smith. Yeah. And listen to what he has to say exactly on this point. He's very disappointed with the Democrats.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very, very clear. If the Democratic Party becomes the likes of Zoran Mamdani, who, by the way, I like, not trying to throw any shade on him or anything like that, but if the Democratic Party becomes him, you have no chance. You have no chance on a national basis in terms of the presidency. In Senate seats in the House, you have no chance. You have no chance. I want to be very, very clear about that. You might have a Democratic Socialist sprinkled here and there, but that ain't what America is. America's about capitalism. America's about dollars and cents. America's about an economy, a flourishing economy. Okay? And you know what it's not about? Free stuff. Somebody got said, so I'm going to say it.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
He goes ranting and raving a little bit more. But he's 100% right. I mean, he's spoken like a true conservative there.
Right.
So I'm glad that he's seeing the light. I just think he needs to change his association from D to R. But good for him for recognizing that. And that was about Zoran Mamdani, which I want to talk about in a second. But he's also talking, generally speaking, about how the Democrats have embraced these very bizarre ideas, the transgenderism, the illegal immigration, the socialism/communism. Things are not looking well for the Democrats, and that's what he's saying. These associations are really bad for the Democrats, and he may very well disassociate himself. I'm not saying that he will become Republican, but he might very well become an independent, like so many Democrats have now chosen to be.
And that's one thing that I noticed was the disassociation that you're mentioning is that he said, "You Democrats." And 5 years ago, I don't know about Stephen A. Smith, but I know a lot of people would say, "Us, we have to tack." Now he's distancing himself and saying, "No, you guys better get back to shore because you guys have gone," and they have.
Yes. Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Mamdani because he, as you know, he won the not the special election, the primary election for the Democrats.
Terrifying.
By a lot.
Yeah.
I think it was like 54-44, something like that.
Oh, my God.
And what was interesting is that he won mostly, not within the black community or the brown community or the gay community, I don't know, but he won in the wealthy white community.
Oh, really?
So what I call the white guilt community.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. So that was weird. Now, let me ask you, because I don't know the demographics of New York City that well, but I can say that, look, a primary might bring out the nutsos.
Right.
And they really want this guy. Now, remember in 2002, 2004, Joe Lieberman, senator, was primaried and got slaughtered by this crazy socialist nut job.
Yeah.
And he was thrilled because he was going to be the next senator because, Connecticut votes Democrat. So Lieberman, who was beloved by Connecticutans, I should know because I actually grew up in Connecticut. I don't know why I don't know this word. Connecticut Yankee, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, he ran as an independent.
Yeah.
And he won by a lot.
Yeah.
So what that meant was that people came out and they said, no, this is nonsense. We're voting for the right person here. I'm hoping that will be the case here in the mayoral race in New York City. Are there enough normal people that will say, okay, we've got to do something about this Mamdani guy?
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, in the case I just mentioned with Joe Lieberman, he was the only independent running, and he ran successfully. What happens if both Mario Cuomo and Eric Adams, not Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew Cuomo, yeah.
And Eric Adams run each as independents.
Right.
Then I think we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because they will cancel each other out unless there's some sort of runoff. I don't know how it works in the New York City mayor office. But I just got to have faith that people will come out in droves to not let this guy in because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, have you heard this guy?
No, he's insane. Yeah. And didn't New York just do like that weird multi-tier voting where it's not one vote for one person? So like that actually might help.
Yes.
If you do Como and you do the current mayor, like one or two, they could, it actually could make that even a better thing.
I think so. But
ranked choice voting, I think.
That's what it was. It was ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it was such the brightest thing possible there. So let's take a listen to what how this one organization, I think it's called Pix 11, describes the situation. Check it out.
Morning, President Trump wasting no time taking aim at the now official Democratic nominee for New York City mayor.
Day one of Zoran Mamdani's campaign met with threats of arrest and deportation. Pix 11's Kirsten Cole joining us live here in the studio with more on this. Kirsten, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. And we've heard similar threats from President Trump previously. Now they're leveled at him. Mamdani is not shy about taunting the president in response in this moment, releasing his very first campaign video. He's talking about how people who voted for Trump in the recent election
now voted for him in the Democratic primary, a shift in support as the president now threatening to withhold even more money in New York City. Zoran Mamdani, officially named the Democratic nominee after 3 rounds of ranked choice voting. Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, besting Andrew Cuomo 56% to 44%. And that win puts him in the crosshairs of President Trump, who's now incorrectly labeling the nominee a communist, and went on to issue a threat to Mamdani, saying he'll have him arrested if he's elected and interferes with ICE agents, then using another by now familiar tactic, calling into question Mamdani's legal naturalization status. He's been a citizen since
Okay, so
I love this guy.
right? It's interesting. So the 3 things wrong. So first of all, and we'll talk about Mamdani in a second because he's such an idiot.
Yeah.
But the 3 things about this very liberal, left-leaning news outlet. So they say that, he incorrectly refers to him as a communist.
Right.
Well, why are you telling me that?
Yeah.
Why not say that Trump calls him a communist and leave it to the viewer to decide?
Or even say this is why he does this.
Yes.
Because it's not coming out of left field.
Right. And then he says that he's going to threaten to arrest him. Okay? But they don't say why.
Right.
No, he would be arrested if he doesn't comply with the ICE immigration laws and somehow interferes with ICE, because that's what Mamdani has said.
Yeah.
That he's going to interfere with it. Okay, if you do that, I will arrest you.
Right.
Okay, and he said that to many other people too. But somehow they make it seem as if Trump is just out there to arrest his opponents.
Yeah.
That's
guy
the way
is
he
not
likes it.
born in America.
He's half-cocked.
So,
oh, my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
No, that's the 3rd thing.
Yeah.
He's saying, and, see, there are 3 things I picked up on this. And he may not even be, we might take away his citizenship.
Right.
And then they begin saying, oh, wait, but he's been a citizen for 6 years. So how could that be? No, you could be, your citizenship can be revoked.
Yeah.
If you're a naturalized citizen, by the way, I'm a naturalized citizen. If you were naturalized and then you start openly advocating for the destruction of the country that you just became a citizen of, you can be stripped of your citizenship.
Yeah.
It's not like forever.
Right.
So now, if you're a citizen born and bred and all that stuff, and you never had any other citizenship, you might be arrested for treason.
All right.
But an easy fix on this is to take away your citizenship.
Yeah.
So that's what they're talking about.
Right.
They don't get it, as if he's confused about Mamdani's citizenship.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like the birther situation, which has its own issues that they're wrong about.
Right.
But whatever. It was interesting to listen to that one.
Yeah, it's insane how they keep on pushing this. That they're not, faithful actors, and that they're lying and they're wanting to poison the well.
Yes.
It's just, it's so easy and obvious now.
We'll take a listen to how Trump takes it and what he actually says. And I have no disagreement with what he says.
Yeah.
Just listen carefully.
Zoran Mamdani having such a hard time condemning the phrase globalized intifada.
I think he's terrible. He's a communist. The last thing we need is a communist. I said there will never be socialism in the United States. Now we have a communist. So I think he's bad news. And I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with him, watching him, because he has to come right to this building to get his money. And don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think he's, frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist. He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores. What about the people that are there? I think it's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And he said nothing wrong about describing Mamdani.
Yeah.
He is a communist. I mean,
Right.
if you're talking about these things, well, I mean, if it what is it? It quacks like a duck.
Looks like a duck.
Looks like
quacks
a duck.
duck,
Swims
yeah.
like a duck. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's a duck, probably.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, but he's. I mean, it's like saying, I'm not cheating on my wife, but I'm just sleeping with another woman.
Right.
And she doesn't know about me sleeping with another woman. But I'm not cheating.
Yeah.
That's. I don't like that label.
Yeah.
Or I'm stealing money from a bank, but I'm not a thief.
Right.
How dare you?
And they keep on calling Trump a fascist constantly.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But then I'm sure the same news people, I'm sure Mamdani or however you pronounce his name.
So crazy.
But then, oh no, you called me a name, even though I've been doing it with you?
Yeah. Check out how Mamdani,
Yeah.
fails to respond to this simple question from reporter, on the left, in fairness, about asking him to condemn the phrase "globalize the intifada." Okay?
That should be easy.
That should be easy. You would say that's wrong. That's not intifada. It's calling for a revolution within every country and to globalize it.
Right.
So you should be against that, right?
Yeah.
Not so fast.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe...
Okay. Devin Goodman?
Yeah.
Do you feel he's answering the questions?
I do not. But he's had a conversation about the questions.
That's all that matters. Anyway, by the way, that was from Meet the Press on NBC.
Yeah.
Really fascinating how this guy thinks he can just fool us.
Right.
Everyone's screaming, like, just condemn that phrase.
Yeah.
But he can't do it because he knows who his puppet masters really are.
Yeah.
This guy is a loser. He may very well win the mayorship. I get that. But he's still a loser.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently he lived with his parents until he was 29.
Jesus.
He's only 31 now.
Oh,
as
my
we speak.
God.
And what he's been doing for work is not really meaningful either. I think he was a rapper in between.
Oh, God.
So, and then you see him kind of eating his food with his hands, like picking up rice with his hands, which is disgusting. This is not what we want to laud. He's obviously playing to some sort of crowd,
right?
To the third world crowd. I think Charlie Kirk brought that up, which is a good point. We need to be elevating the first world. We need to be saying why you're an American rather than you somehow want our country to be more like the third world,
right?
From where you came, Uganda, as I understand.
He came from Uganda?
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So strange.
Yeah.
Strange animal all the way through. We've got some problems with this guy. But the Democrats have a bigger problem. Now, part of me is happy because they indeed have a problem.
Right.
This will cause them to lose more and more elections. So that's a good thing. On the other hand, there's a danger that they could fool enough people to actually get people elected. And they've already won in several grounds, like AOC.
Yeah.
Right. And all the other squad members that we've talked about many times before. We got to be careful. We really got to turn this around. And obviously it's about education. I do think that people are turning around when it comes to what's happening in America. So let's pray.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
That's all we can do. Yeah.
So there is more, and I want to talk before we go as our kind of last major talking point about Israel.
Yeah.
Now, Israel, tremendous things are happening. It's great. I think one of the things that I really want to appreciate about the situation in Israel is that Iran has come off looking super weak.
Yeah.
It's an important point to remember. The real thing that's been exposed is how weak Iran has been.
Yeah.
following it and how weak apparently it's always been.
Right.
It can't plan. Iran did not plan the attack that Israel had upon it.
Yeah.
Didn't at least defend against it.
Right.
I mean, the fact that they didn't have virtually any planes to fly on the very first day, it shows that they did not plan anything.
Right.
It also shows that how Iran doesn't support its allies. When Hezbollah was in trouble, Iran was not there.
That is
when
true.
When Hamas was in trouble, Iran was not there. It gave money and such, but it wasn't really there.
Right.
Same thing with Syria. Same thing with Yemen. And it's become clear that Iran is a very isolated country that only thinks of itself, will not defend its other like-minded brothers, as it were, terrorist brothers. But they've basically come to the conclusion that this guy operates on his own.
Yeah.
He's a loner. He only thinks about himself. Let's not party with him.
Right.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah.
And they've exposed themselves to be paper tigers, to use, try to a phrase these days, but they've really exposed themselves to be a nothing burger.
Right.
The big moment came. You said you were going to annihilate all of us if we dared to attack you.
Right.
Well, we attacked you, and you kind of did nothing. Kind of lost everything, dude.
Completely.
And now your best argument is that somehow the nuclear facilities were not completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Ha. That's your argument?
Right.
I don't recall us swimming and being boiled in our own blood.
No.
As they threatened.
Right.
I don't remember. I had a warm bath the other day.
Yeah.
And I don't recall it was with my blood.
Yeah, I had a warm shower, but
no blood.
It was no blood.
Not even a drop.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, or it's interesting too because when you talked about their allies, I was like, oh, they have allies? Because they sell energy to China. Maybe they have some kind of economic relationship with Russia that's on their border or really close to their border, but they, all they have is terrorist organizations.
Yeah.
And America, we stand with our allies. When you're an ally with America, we will stand with you. And that's a stark contrast between the two.
Yeah, there's no NATO equivalent in the Muslim world,
No.
right? The anti-Israel world, for that matter. I don't see that. I mean, it's a loose, confederacy, but I don't see that.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you can't trust Iran. If you previously liked to associate yourself with Iran, all you know is that Iran will not be there when you need her.
Right.
Possible Gaza control by Arab countries.
Yeah.
There's a rumor floating that we're going to allow Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and maybe one other Arab country, I don't know which one, Egypt, to control Gaza. And instead of Hamas, which would, of course, is better.
Right.
But come on. You really think that that's going to end up to be a good thing?
That is not a good thing.
Of course not.
No.
There are going to be terrorists who will use that as a launching pad, one way or the other. There'll be tunnels all over again. It may not be Hamas. It may be some other organization. But who cares? From whom the bullet comes that kills you,
right?
Or the missile that comes to kill you. So let's see what happens. But I do like, by the way, how Trump said after the bombing of Iran.
Yeah.
How it was utterly obliterated, right? It reminds me of when he arranged for the killing of Soleimani, right?
Yeah.
In his first term, and he said, he died like a dog.
Oh, that was Soleimani.
That was awesome.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I wish I had that clip with me. Which reminds me of the Three Amigos clip, right? You're like, you will die like dogs. Right? That's a hysterical movie.
That's one of the best movies.
I live by all his teachings.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the story. I'll leave you with this. Great things are happening.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court has recently allowed Trump to assume the control of the National Guard in L.A. Nationwide injunctions, as we mentioned before, has been invalidated. You have to have basically a class action, a certified class, in order to actually pursue that. The Supreme Court also said that parents now have a right to say no to transgender books.
Yeah.
Which you think is not a big deal, but it actually is.
That's an incredibly big deal, yeah.
The Supreme Court also said that the parents have a right to say no to transgender surgeries.
Yeah.
And the state can say, I refuse to, or that we, the state, refuse to provide transgender surgeries.
Right.
The court allowed Trump to nationalize the National Guard where appropriate, which is fine. That's his job.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court also said that states do not have to fund Planned Parenthood. Da-da-da.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So these are all great things that
Yeah.
are happening, to say nothing of how we're stopping all the illegal immigration at the border. I think it's like down to 2 every day or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of the, 5,000, 6,000 a day that was happening. It was insane.
God, it was brutal.
So anyway, great things are happening. Once this big, beautiful bill passes, and I think it will, it'll be a start of yet another new momentum. So we have new momentum in America. We have new momentum in the Middle East.
Yeah.
We have new momentum, I think, in Africa with the solving of that crisis down there as well. A new momentum in NATO.
Yeah.
A new momentum with the tariffs.
Yeah.
Great things are happening, and more will come.
Right.
So who knows about the Ukraine-Russia war? We'll see about that. But only good things are happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as a liberal, how you cannot see that.
Right.
You have to embrace it. Good things are happening.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Barack Lurie signing off, saying God bless, be strong, and we'll talk with you next week.